Hey folks, Gregory Cockery here. Wildwood Guitars, we've been talking about little subjects off camera that we thought might be good to have on camera. And Stephen Mesplay asked me what my thoughts were and what I look for in a rhythm section. And of course, many things come to mind. First of all, for me, my gig and what I do as a recording artist, because I always wanted to have my own band. Everything, dude, who have you all played with? Have you played with Slidey Joe McCorkindale and Festus McCracken? And I say, well, I've jammed with a lot of people over the years, but I always wanted to have my own band. So I was never, other than playing with my buddy Willie Porter for a couple of years, and we did some tours with various different folks. I have pretty much had my own band since 1990. So, but rhythm sections over the years, it's a very interesting gig that I do, because what I first of all look for is you got to have some concept of roots in terms of things like the shuffle. A lot of people have no idea how to do a good shuffle. And if you get somebody who knows how to do a good shuffle, usually they have a variety of different shuffles they can do. And some people put a bunch of names to it, like, well, this is a Texas shuffle, and this is a so-and-so shuffle, and this is the double shuffle, whatever. Just do a shuffle right, okay? None of this boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da. You gotta go, dum, ka-ka, ka-kum, ka-ka, or as the Tom Breckline likes to say, chew tobacco, chew tobacco. So it's gotta have a good shuffle, gotta have a good concept of some of the cool New Orleans beats, but also has to be able to swing. There has to be a swing element involved, and that usually requires a modicum of jazz knowledge. Now, there has been the quote made, and it's bandied about in a lot of jazz schools, that if you can play jazz, you can play anything. And that is some horse poop, ladies and gentlemen. It certainly helps to be able to be cognizant of more sophisticated musical forms, but I've seen some jazz aficionados who fancy themselves titans play rock and roll, and everything's a boogaloo. And then they do shuffles and whatnot else, and it's not happening, okay? So we need to go across the musical borders. A drummer has to be able to have the same respect for Max Roach as they do for John Bonham, as they do for Richie Hayward, as they do for Al Jackson Jr. and Zigaboo Modele and Willie Big Eyes Smith and whoever else you want to say. So the drummer has to be well-versed in all that stuff and know how to. Sometimes when you play funk stuff, it's got to be a little on top. When you're doing the rock stuff, to be behind. Sometimes you want to be way behind when you're doing the blues. All that stuff, a cognizance of the beat and where to place stuff. And for bass players, it's also a difficult gig that I do, because they got to know how to play blues stuff right. And a lot of bass players, the more bass players are qualified to play more sophisticated stuff, the less willing they are to just go. And sometimes that's all you need. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have somebody who knows that the main function of a bass player is to make the rumps wiggle to and fro on the dance floor if necessary, and to provide the power, which sometimes means it just needs to be simple. But by the same token, they got to know how to play over sophisticated chord changes for me. They got to know how to funkify to a certain extent. Sometimes people get all up and through like, I don't care if somebody uses their thumb or not. Some people are like, oh, don't use that thumb. I don't care, as long as it's musical. If you got something to say with your thumb, let the good times roll. If you want to play with the pick every now and again, that's a cool thing. There certainly are people that have done, that play only with the pick, and they sound great. And so, there's a lot of people that put up, you can't play with the pick, you must play with your fingers. I'm not a real draconian individual when it comes to my rhythm sections. I like them to be able to function in these different musical environments. I show them the basic confines of what I want done, and then I turn them loose to express themselves. That's why I've had fun over the years with my guys. My current guy on bass is Tom Good, and my buddy Del Bennett plays drums, but I've certainly done a lot of stuff with Roscoe Beck and Tommy Breckline, and my buddy Reggie Hamilton is one of my favorite all-time guys. All kinds of different individuals. And it's the ability to listen too. There's another big problem is, some people talk about, well, so-and-so has perfect pitch. And I always say, well, just because someone has perfect pitch doesn't mean they know how to listen. You have to be able to listen to stuff when you're on stage and be cognizant of the other people. And one of my favorite stories about Cream is that one time Cream was playing towards the end when they were all hating each other, apparently. And Eric Clapton stopped playing, and so did Ginger Baker. And Jack Bruce just kept on going, oblivious to the fact that the other two had stopped. And that's really when you know the party's over, because it needs to function as everyone's cognizant of what's going on. And with my guys, it's such a tight thing that I can give little cues and they go right with me. And that's the kind of spirited musical congress that I look for in a rhythm section. Thank you very much. Gregory Stephen Koch, out.